Greetings, it is I, Tentus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue our discussion on Shadowrun. We last left off, I was talking about, of course, using the hacking skill and getting into a system. Today I'm going to talk about some other uses for the hacking skill. Now, it is important to notice that when you're choosing to use the hacking skill and it comes up to appropriate time, traditionally you're either going to use your hacking skill plus logic, or if you have a program, you can choose to use the program as your hacking skill plus that program to figure out your dice pools. A lot of the actions I'm going to talk about are all about interacting with a device and basically manipulating the device within it. So let's start, of course, with causing a crash in a device, because there are points and times when you're interacting with a node or similar device that rather than attacking it using cyber combat, you might want to cause it to crash, to basically reset. It might be a prudent course of action for you to take. In this case, you would of course make a hacking plus attack extended test with a threshold equal to the firewall plus system of the target. You can make one combat turn as the interval of using it. You can use this on any kind of OS or node. This auto triggers an alert when it is forcibly basically crashed. It will reset though. Users are logged off, programs are shut down, and the system takes a full combat turn to actually reset. You cannot use this on personas, ices, sprites, or agents. Won't work on any of those. You would actually have to use normal cyber combat on them. You can defuse a data bomb using hacking. Now, granted, you have to actually use your matrix perception to detect the data bomb in the first place, because if you don't know it, you can't defuse it. But once you've successfully detected that there is a data bomb there, you can attempt a hacking plus diffuse program versus the data bomb's rating times 2. If you are successful at getting an extra success in this opposed test, then you've successfully disarmed the data bomb. You can access the node or whatever program it's inserted into just fine without any problems. If you fail, it goes off. And then you take matrix damage, your matrix condition damage equivalent to the data bomb's rating. You can intercept traffic using hacking skills. Now, what is this? Is this data traffic you can get in the middle of if you're going into a node that is passing through. Now, this is important to note. This is wired traffic, not wireless. Wireless is an entire different kind of beast when you're trying to mess with that. I'm talking about there's a wired signal going between these two nodes. I'm getting in the middle of it in either. Now, granted, I could do this at either end, one of those nodes, or the node they pass through. Now, at your GM's discretion, you might actually have to pick up that there's a conversation going. This might require a computer plus browse in order to sort of detect the signal passing through them. At that point in time, you can use a hacking plus sniffer program to effectively tap into it. This doesn't technically require any successes, but the amount of successes that you get on this test is the threshold that anyone attempting to matrixly perceive that you're in there doing this would need. Granted, it is difficult to detect someone's messing or basically observing your thing, because this allows you to observe and record the traffic that you're basically hacked into. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't possibly edit it. You could use a computer plus edit to insert data into this stream, basically add data in. Granted, unfortunately, unless you specifically make it look like one or the other nodes supplied the data, it can be a little obvious if someone is really looking at it. If you do want to trick them into thinking it specifically came from one of the other nodes, you can attempt a sniffer plus hacking versus the target's system plus firewall. Effectively, you're tricking it into thinking that this data directly came from the other node. You're making it think that rather than it just seems to be getting this data as part of it. It's a little more complex, but it also helps with when the data is getting more scrutinized. Now, there are times when this data could be decrypted. Then you will have to decrypt it because it will be encrypted, and you'll have to worry about that. You can redirect a trace against you. So if you're being tracked back to your spot and you know you're being tracked back, you can attempt to redirect it. This is an opposed test of your hacking plus your spoof versus the target's computer plus tracking, or system plus tracking if it's a node that's specifically tracking you back. The successes you get on this opposed test add to the threshold it needs to track you. So it still has to make its test to track you. You're just attempting to spoof out the threshold and make it a little more difficult. You can only do this when you are having a trace back on you in progress. That means it's active against you. But you can take multiple actions in order to continue to spoof this out. So if you have more than one initiative pass from using the Matrix, you can definitely attempt to spoof the trail, so to say, more than once. You can also use this to effectively trick orders into some kind of program. So something that usually is being piloted, specifically a drone. Effectively, when you get in access to the drone, you have to get access to it in the first place. You can attempt to spoof orders, making it think that it's orders from whoever's normally in charge of it. You'll need to have completed a matrix perception test against the persona of the one that's controlling the vehicle or drone in the first place to get an idea of their format to spoof the system with it. Then you make a hacking plus spoof test versus its pilot program oppose test. If you are successful, you effectively have tricked it, because you had that perception of the persona that's been ordering it, into thinking that you are that persona and you are giving it a specific order. You can spoof your data trail, effectively eliminate it. You would make a hacking plus spoof difficulty 2 test, which if you are successful at it, you've hidden the trail in whatever program or node you're in. You can eliminate this from more physical sources with a logic plus hardware also too. The thing is, you can never quite eliminate your data ID completely. You regularly have to go in and spoof it. It's not something that's gotten rid of entirely all the time. It still will exist. It's something, again, can't get rid of it, can only temporarily basically suppress it. Or suppress it in a system that you're basically messing with. Last thing you can do is, of course, you can use hacking to effectively eliminate within a node the evidence that you've hacked into something. You're basically editing the system to look like maybe it wasn't hacked, especially if you'd be leaving some kind of footprint behind with the actions you were doing. You can basically attempt to hide the evidence of those actions within the system. It all will depend on the level of access you've moved into within the node. You could, of course, add or delete accounts. You could add a backdoor in so that you could get back in here again, or you could even change subscriptions. If this node would subscribe to certain nodes nearby, you could remove one of them, basically disconnecting the two of them, unless someone manually goes in and doing it. This is a hacking plus edit and is effectively file tampering. It's what you're doing. So, that's it for today. I introduced you to a bunch of actions that you can do using your hacking skill when interacting with a node. So we've already hacked into the node. I might want to alter or do things within this node which are pertinent to using the very skill I just used to get in here. I talked about all of them. From intercepting data, to avoiding being tracked back, to maybe shutting down the node if it really would help you, to even controlling a vehicle or drone by tricking it to think it's the person normally controlling it. All these actions are more what you can do with the hacking skill, and it does show that there's a lot of use to this skill, depending on the combinations with the programs you traditionally use. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about electronic warfare, and then start talking about programs and agents. So, if you have any questions, comments, anything you say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's just to support the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you could always check out my Patreon. Link in the description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.